Hello everyone, in this tutorial we are going to talk about Bayesian search, which is an hyperparameter tuning algorithm. So let's get started. So we are talking only about this one today. In the next tutorial we'll be talking about evolutionary algorithms and gradient based algorithms. So in this tutorial we'll be using this library hyperopt, where uh, we can execute the Bayesian search on any of the algorithms. It can be neural network or it can be any machine learning algorithms. So we'll be using this library. I'll be giving link for that. If you want, you can just get download from there. So we'll be just running that. So let's understand the difference between the last two algorithms which you learned, the grid and random search, and the current algorithm. So if you see here, the grid layout and the random layout, these two are like the values which we'll be giving will be in a form of a grid. So it will be taking every value and it will be searching. It will be trying to evaluate your algorithm with that values. So if you take a grid search here, so you'll be having a 9 values of important parameter. So it will be searching all the 9 values here. It will be going, it will be taking one after another. If you want, you can execute parallelly, but it will be taking in a grid format. And if you take a random layout, so you can see there, it is a random search. So the values will be picking randomly from the space, from the domain or search space. You'll be giving the range of values, so it will be taking random from that values. So the difference between these and the Bayes theorem is Bayes search. So if you take this value here, random forest results are there. So if you take the error here and the number of trees here, so the main difference is these two search algorithms will not consider the previous results. So it will every try or every combination of values is new. It doesn't have anything related to the previous values. So if you see here, what do you think the next search can be? Take a guess. Yes, you are right. So the value, the next pick you can take, the number of trees is around 200 or 100, something like that, right? So you done the Bayesian search in your mind right now. So this is what happens in the Bayesian search. Like it will consider all the previous results and get the next set of results. I mean, get next set of hyperparameters. So this will not be there in these two algorithms. So that is one of the biggest drawbacks of these two algorithms. So if you see this one, I got this from a paper, research paper of TPE. So if you see here, these gray values are random search values, and these green values are Bayesian search values. So if you see the number of trials, so this is the validation error and this is the number of trials. So if you go on to the number of trials, you can see how many trials, how many times the random search has happened. There are many times it has happened, but when you see the TPU, it is far less than that. And here also, if you see, so this is what the advantage of the Bayesian search. Like it will take only less validations, less number of validations, and that is what the biggest difference. So I'll explain how it works and everything, and let's see how that works. Bayesian search. So the ultimate goal of the Bayesian search is to reduce the number of trials. If you take a grid search and if you give 10,000 combinations, it will search every combination. It will search all the 10,000 combinations. So in the same way, random search, you'll be giving a domain space for that, and it will picking multiple values. It also take around 9,000 or 8,000 values there, 8,000 combinations there. But if you take a Bayesian search, it is almost 20x less than the, or 10x, let's say 10x less than the random search. It takes only um, 800 or around 800 number of trials. So what it will be doing, how that will be achieved? So this Bayesian search will be using a Bayesian optimization. Bayesian optimization is an algorithm which tries to get the best parameters for an algorithm. So we'll be extending that for the hyperparameters also. So, and what will be happening here, keep tracking of the past evaluation results. So based on that only it will pick the next evaluation results. So the thing which the Bayesian search will be doing is it will create a probabilistic model of the objective function, and we call that as a surrogate model. So if you take the probabilistic model, so I had just given this one. See, the probability of the score given hyperparameters. So you will be giving the hyperparameters and it will calculate the probability of what score it can get. Score in the sense loss. So objective function is also we call as an loss function here. So and the thing where it takes time is choosing the next values. So if you take a grid or random, the more time it takes is evaluating the multiple combinations. But in Bayesian search it will take more time in selecting the next set of hyperparameters and reduce the number of trials of evaluating the function. So this is what it will be doing. So let's get into more details. Okay, and the surrogate function here. So there are multiple forms. There are mainly these three forms: Gaussian process, random forest regression, and tree Parson estimator. So these if you want to execute this Gaussian process, these two are the libraries for that. If you want to execute random forest regression, this is the library, and for tree Parson estimator, hyperopt. So in this tutorial we'll be going with the tree Parson estimator. So so what is tree Parson estimator is the main thing it will be using there is Bayes theorem. So the complete background of the tree Parson estimator is a Bayes theorem. So you know, in the Bayes theorem you will be giving the prior results and it will be calculating the posterior result, right? So here also you will be calculating this one, the probability of scores given the hyperparameters, and these are all the prior informations we already know. And what the tree Parson estimator will be doing is it will create the probability distributions of every hyperparameter. Let's say we just take a logistic regression and we have a hyperparameter of C, which is a coefficient of regularization. So it will build a probabilistic it will build a probability distribution for that C, the probability distribution values of that C. And what it will be doing is it will take some threshold value. That threshold value is a loss, the threshold value of a loss, and it will create two probability distributions of the hyperparameter. One probability distribution below the threshold value and one probability distribution above the threshold value. You understand, right? So it will be doing for every hyperparameter, and the selection of the next hyperparameters is the important step here. So we'll be using a selection function here to select that next set of hyperparameters, and the most used algorithm, most used selection function is expected improvement. So here in this tree Parson estimator, the expected improvement is the ratio of the that two probability distributions. So let's call the probability distribution below the threshold values as L of x, and the probability distribution above the threshold value as G of x. So the ratio will be L of x divided by G of x, and we want to maximize the expected improvement. So that means we want to get the parameters mostly from the L of x, not from the G of x, if you want to maximize the expected improvement. So in this way it will select the next next set of hyperparameters where the expected improvement is maximized. So this is how the tree Parson estimator works. So let's see the complete steps. First we will be building the surrogate probability model of the objective function. Let's say we build a tree Parson estimator, and we find the best hyperparameters that works best on the surrogate models using the expected improvement, and we try these on the real objective function, and based on that real objective function results we will update our surrogate model. So surrogate model is an approximate of the objective function. It is not exact the object function, it is an approximation. So by going through the number of iterations, this surrogate model will try to be as real as the objective function. It will be improving based on the results which we get from the real objective function, and we will be repeating that 2 to 4 steps again and again until the number of iterations are completed, or where the model is exactly, where the surrogate model is exactly to the real objective function. Okay, so let's see this with an example. If you take a hyperopt library, we need to give these 4 things: objective function, a domain space, which is the probability distribution of the hyperparameters, right? And the next one is optimization algorithm, that is what surrogate. And the results is we want to just check, we want to store all the pair of results. So I'm taking the data set from directly from the Kaggle. So if you want to directly take the data sets from the Kaggle, you need to have an API token for that. So for that you can get that from here. So just go to your Kaggle account, my account, and you will be seeing here create new API token. If you click this button, a file will be downloaded. So you can directly upload that file here. I already did that one, and you need to create the environment for the Kaggle to get the data sets. So this is all the 4 steps you need to follow, and you need to give this one, because the username and the data and the problem name. So if you give this one, it will download the data set. It will be in a zip format, so you need to unzip that one. So after unzipping, you'll get this one, credit card .csv. So we'll be using the credit card data set. So if we just visualize the data set, you can see we have many features, and this is the actual class 0 and 1. 0 in the sense not fraud, 1 in the sense fraud. So we also just visualized how these are spreaded. So if you see, we just have only around 0. Not even 1% of fraud class. Almost 99 point some percent of values are not fraud. So this is completely an unbalanced data set, so you need to take care of that as well. So I'm just splitting the data set here. So first thing, as I said, we need to define the objective function here. Objective function in the sense your algorithm. Okay, so we will be using a logistic regression algorithm here. So we'll be passing the parameters here, and n-folds and train data set, and train of x and train of y. Okay, and we'll be building the logistic regression with these parameters, and we'll be doing some cross validation here. We are just given cross validation as 5, so it will train the algorithm 5 times by splitting the dataset into 5 sets and calculating the test on every other dataset, and it will be calculating the F1 macro score, because we are using F1 because this is an unbalanced dataset. So if you want to learn more about F1, check my previous tutorial on confusion matrix. I'll be also giving the link below. So and we'll be getting the best score of these cross validation, and we'll be taking the loss, and we'll be returning that one. Okay, loss and params and status. So this is what the objective function, and we'll be building the domain space of this one. I mean the hyperparameters. So we have around 7 hyperparameters here. So we'll be just giving all the values here. We'll be using hyperplot only, like hyperplot choices. Choice in the sense you'll be giving a list of values, it will be picking one from that. So here also warm start, true or false, choice true or false, fit intercept, and tolerance will be giving some range of values, and C also will be giving range of values from 0.05 to 3, and solver also it is picking some solver from here, and max iterations 5 to 1000. Okay, this is the domain space we are just given for this, and it can be anything uniform or continuous, or there are multiple distributions in the hyperopt, so you can use anything. if you are a domain expert, then you know what will be the probability of that one. So you know, right, tree parson methods, tree parson estimator will mostly work with the probability distributions. So if you are good, if you know what will be the probability distribution, you can directly give that. Okay, and we need to and the next one is the creating the optimization algorithm. So here we will be using the tp.suggest. This is what the tree parson estimator will be creating that, and the number of trials. So this is where it tracks all the results of your all the trials. We just given around 50 trials, so it will be trying 50 times, 50 combinations. Yeah, and this is the main function fmin. We want to minimize the function, so we'll be using the fmin here, and we need to define all the four things here: the objective space and the domain space, and optimization algorithm, and max evals and the trials also. It will keep track of that, and we'll be running this. It almost took around 2 hours for me, so I already ran it. So you can also try if you want. I'll be giving the link to this Jupyter notebook, this Google Colab notebook also, so you can just play around that one. So this is what the best values I got after the completion of 50 trials. So you can see all the values. So we'll be building the best model from that values. So we'll be taking the best C. Class weight is none, because in the list values, zero index is none. So the fit intercept also, zero index is true. So max iterate we got, it will take the best, and here also solver and zero, and tolerance best tolerance, and warm spot. So we'll be building the best model with the best parameters. So we got around 0.84 of f1 score. So let's also take all these values and see how it searched on the domain space. So we'll be taking all the trial values here, so it will be in this format. So the loss will be there and all the parameters. So all 50 will be there here because of the 50 trials, and we'll be taking this in a data frame. So this is how the data frame looks. The loss will be there and iteration number will be there, and at that iteration what are the values of these parameters. Okay, we will be also having 50 rows here, and let's just visualize how the C value is there. Okay, so if we visualize the C value, so this is how it has picked the values. So if you check, uh, if you go on to the increasing the iteration value, you will be seeing all the C values will be searched in this space only. So below some value, let's say 1.5. So if you check at the start of the iterations, the values are random here, like random, and it will be searching all over the space. But when the iterations are increasing, you can see the almost all the values are below 1.5 only. Only few are just above the 1.5. So it just concentrated here only. So it learned on the previous experiences. So if you see the best value of C, what is the best value of C? It is around 0.86. So if you see 0.86 here, so if you see below the 1.5, the most of the values are below 1 only here. So it concentrated there. So this is how it works, the Bayesian search. So this is the biggest advantage of that. So if you also just plot the histograms, you can also see here most of the values were searched between 1.5 itself. This is the count, how many times it searched with that value. So if you see, most of the values are below 1.5. So it concentrated the values only below 1.5. So this is how it works. And if we also visualize max number of iterations, so you can see here also, if you go on the iteration values, it also most concentrated below 400 or around 350 or something like that. If you see at the starting of the iterations, all the values are spreaded randomly, and when the iterations are increasing, it concentrated on few areas, like this is one area, and this is one area, this is one area. Like that it will be working. So if we also see the histogram plots, the same will be seen. Okay, and let's see the tolerance value how it is. So we got a best value of tolerance around 0.00007. So here it can be. Okay, so if you also see, after increasing iterations, the most values are concentrated here itself, the above 0.0006 value. So this is how it the advantage of the Bayesian search is, it will decrease the number of validations and it will take the time in selecting the best parameters. So if you also visualize the loss, so you can see how the loss is. So most of the iterations you can see the loss is below 0.2. So it performed very good, if we say, because it was searching the values which we will be getting the more or less loss, and the values which is getting the more loss, it is just above this one, and it is only few number of trials. But if you see, more number of trials are around 0 point less than 0.2. So it actually worked very good, if you want to say. And you can take an assignment like comparing this with the random search and the grid search with the same hyperparameter values. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Hope you like it. If you like it what I'm doing, just hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.